Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to Transport Fever 2. Now, I was meant to be doing some kind of connections thing this week. I was going to do some more bus hubs and things like that. However, I was just watching trains going through M4J Junction, and I didn't like it, basically. The conflicting movements still are annoying me, the junctions as a whole. But the thing that actually annoyed me most was the lack of realism, which might sound like a weird thing for me to say. But this is a station that was built in the 1800s. You know, was it 1880, I think we started? Something like that. Yes, we're in the 1910s right now, but that's not when this station was built. This station is an 1800s built station. So it didn't make sense to me that we had all these flyovers and dive unders and things like that, because those things just didn't really exist back then. There were some in certain places. I'm not saying they didn't exist at all, but the majority of them just weren't a thing. So I didn't like the fact that we had all these flyovers and stuff. They look ugly anyway. I didn't do a particularly good job. We had an opportunity to rebuild the approach bridges on the north side as well, northeast and northwest, with the new girder style. So I thought, why not do all of that as one big build and just rebuild M4J Junction pretty much from scratch. And I must admit, there are still some aspects of this rebuild that I don't like. One of which is to do with routing. So I figured that the game would work like OpenTTD, where it would apply a penalty if it ran through a station. And up till this episode, I genuinely thought that was how it worked. It didn't seem to route trains through platforms if there was a route without a platform available. However, in this, it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It seems to take the shortest distance, which in most cases here means not going the way I want it to. So the freight trains, for example, I've had to put waypoints on for them, and it looks like I'm going to have to do the same for passenger trains as well. But, you know, that's not a huge deal, all things considered. You know, I'll build a bridge and I'll get over it, as they say. But, yeah, the overall project here, the overall rebuild, I'm really, really happy with. You can see I'm going for a similar setup here to Maltby Parkway, where the station is split. So the stopping platforms are split in half. The express platforms are currently all one piece. They might get split in the future. I haven't 100% decided yet. I wish there was a way to make station sizes bigger. Maybe there is, and I just haven't found it yet. But you can see here, I wanted to add an extra set of platforms on the western side here, and I couldn't. And I tried to do the same thing on the eastern side here, and I couldn't. Now, it could be because of the embankments that it's making. Maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like station sizes, considering they really bragged when the game was revealed about the fact you can build modular stations. I really feel like the feature is still somewhat lacking. You can't, for example, build... oh yeah, these crossovers do my head in as well. You'll see that throughout. You can't, for example, build perpendicular platforms. They have to all be parallel. You can't build curved platforms. They have to all be straight. It's not ideal, shall we say. It's not the most ideal thing in the world. It's quite irritating, in fact. Yeah, trying to build these crossovers then. So I end up just giving up and creating more space, and we go with a slightly shorter platform on one side and a slightly longer platform on the other. It's a little bit lopsided, but I kind of like it still. It's no big deal again. Again, I'll build a bridge and I'll get over it, or I'll build a station and I'll stop at it. I don't know where I'm going with that. But, oh yeah, so every now and then I would build one crossover and it would work fine. And then I tried to build the opposite crossover and it wouldn't. So I couldn't get these scissor crossovers. Now, I thought the game was programmed so that if you build one, the other one just snaps. But it didn't always work. And there's one that you'll see me rebuild a little bit later on, where, oh god, was it a pain in the backside to try and get it done. I did get it done, thankfully. Oh god, that zoom in and out there really hurt my eyes, never mind yours. Yeah, it just became really frustrating, where I'm going with that. It just became really, really, really frustrating. Right, bridge rebuilds then. So I mentioned this at the top of the episode here, and that's what we do. I had to move some trains out of the way, sell and rebuy, all that good stuff. Same thing here, just get rid of this bridge. Do I get rid of all of that bridge? I might only get rid of some of that bridge for now, and I have to come back and do the rest. I also missed out some track there as well that I had to go back and re-delete, because we have these really small stubs of track that for some reason exist, and again, I don't like them. They annoy me. Here we go then, new bridge. So we had this weird ground effect thing here, which I didn't like either. There's a lot of things. As I said, I love this game. It's a lot of fun to play. But there are some things that I'm not a huge fan of. That bridge as well. That's a mod, by the way. That's nothing to do with the developers. But that bridge there looked awful. The fact that it's got no supports. I think you have to add them in yourself. But just, yeah. I went with this like box girder-ish type design in the end. I felt like it was the most fitting for this part. We got to get ships in underneath still and things like that. So I just went with something that was quite simple to do. And then we got these crossovers. So in my head, I had this picture of like a countryside junction station. Kind of like if you go to a heritage railway like the Severn Valley, for example, and you stop at Bewdley. Kind of like that, where there's a line that branches off one way and then there's the main line that keeps going straight on. Now, obviously, that's a little bit different here because there's two main lines. One goes left, one goes right. But I wanted that kind of setup still. So not every platform can be accessed from every track. There are some exceptions. I do try and make it as accessible as possible. But already you can see we got half of the junctions done here. I actually go back and delete half of these junctions in a minute as well because I had a better idea on how to do it. There's that weird arch bridge that I just... It looks like, again, actually it looks like... Is it Victoria Bridge on Severn Valley? But it just didn't fit very well with what I had in mind there. So I had to remove it. And also I've between episodes I installed a mod that made the slopes more realistic for gradients on railways. And you can already see where that's coming into play. Bridges that I used to be able to build and slopes I used to be able to build, I can no longer do. Which, again, I found quite annoying. So, I think, yeah, right now you see me just building it like this. But I really wanted one crossover between the two sections here. And I couldn't do it. And I thought it was to do with the junctions here. So, you see I remove a couple. And then I realised it's actually to do with the slopes. So... I do rebuild the second set of bridges. I build them on a slight gradient coming down. And then, yeah, we're able to connect them up. So that's that issue resolved. Yeah, big deletion going on here. And then I think, yeah, I go backwards. Build it in this direction. And manage to get it to work. So that's when I realized it was to do with the slope. And then it's a case of just bringing it back, finding the right type of bridge again, and then bosh, done. Much better. We do still have a problem here with some of the crossover. In fact, do I rebuild this a third time? I think I might rebuild this a third time. I think this is the point where I'm sort of looking at it like, what the heck am I going to do here? And then I decide to just, you know, double slips on my friend and all that jazz. Let's get these done. There's also a little minor annoyance there as well. Something to do with the way the bridge interacts with the land. I don't like the fact that you can't use bridges or track or anything like that to build embankments out into the waterways. I find that's kind of annoying. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, coding wise. Maybe it was causing problems with shipping. I don't know. But for that moment, at least, it was the most annoying thing in the world. Was not a fan. There's one of these big crossovers that I was talking about then. I tried to have one on each side of the station, north and south. One big crossover. It doesn't necessarily access all the platforms, but it certainly reaches a fair few of them. And yeah, you can see again how well that works. Double slips are my friend. We add in some little slip points. We also add in some other little like junctions, crossovers, all that kind of thing. And I haven't tested this for very long. The reason I haven't tested this for very long is I actually unlocked aircraft while I was, or just after finishing this, and I kind of want to make that next episode. So I didn't spend too long watching this. But it seems to work well. There's some extra signals that I've added in on the through lines, which hopefully won't cause any problems with trains like bumping into each other. I've tried to make it so that they're one way only, but we'll see how well that works out, obviously. And yeah, I'm relatively happy with the layout of this station right now. That could change in the future, I'm sure. Oh, you'll see me come back. So yeah, I built this set of junctions here way too big as well. So you do see me come back and fix these later on in the episode. I just want to put that in there now because, again, I built this bit and I was sat there watching it. I just thought it's way too spread out. The whole point of me rebuilding the southern approach, because originally I was just going to do the northern approach, but I decided to do the southern approach as well because I just felt like the junctions were too drawn out and I felt like trains were too far apart. The fact that a train was stopping like a mile away from the station to wait for the track to clear just didn't feel right to me. So I came back and redid it, and then I came back and redid it again because I just didn't like how I did it the first time. And then, yeah, hopefully this time it works a little bit better. Again, the realistic slopes there screw me over. I was looking at other mods and stuff. If anyone's got any suggestions for like mods and assets, that would be great. I'd appreciate that. But I was looking at some ideas. There wasn't many, to be honest, that I looked at and thought, that's cool. Oh yeah, this is weird as well. So I managed to get one line up here, but I couldn't get the other one alongside it. It said slope too steep, which yeah, considering they run right next to each other, I don't know what that's all about. Maybe again, there's like a little something there that I'm not aware of. I ended up just rebuilding this. It's no longer a tunnel, it's just a flat crossing over the road. I could potentially just build the road going up and over. That might be what I end up doing, in all honesty. But yeah, really, just little quirks like that about the game. It really does keep you on your toes, that's for certain. Every now and then you think you've nailed it, and then something like that happens, and you're like, oh, no, it really is that bad. And, you know, it's not putting me off the game or anything, don't get me wrong. I still love playing this game. I'm having a lot of fun playing this game. But little things like that, they do annoy me after a while. Especially when you're doing a big project like this and you just want things to work. It can get very, very irritating. Very, very irritating indeed. Also, autosave can be a little bit annoying after a while as well. But that's a real, like, nitpick. Try and find a problem with autosave. The number of times that autosave in the past has saved my backside, I can't really complain about it too much. I'll try, believe me, I'll try. But yeah, it comes to a point where you don't really have a leg to stand on, so there's no point trying. I was in the middle of talking about something to do with this, and I completely forgot what it was. Oh, I think it was just to do with the southern approaches again. Just rebuilding them, making them look a little bit nicer, a little bit more realistic. All this stuff here you'll see me get rid of. I've tried to put some eye candy in as well. I've put 2 signal boxes in the north and 2 in the south. One that's massive and one that sort of covers more of the, you know, like the freight only lines and that kind of thing, where it's a little bit more, I was going to say refined, but that's not the right word at all. Where it doesn't need to be so big, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't need to be the as big as the main box. That was what I was trying to say. In terms of platform numbers, I think there's 18. There might actually no, there's more than 18. I had a notepad somewhere with them written down. I think it goes up to like platform 21. But again, that's not every track is a platform. And I think that's where the game gets a little confusing for me. So I mentioned this in the last episode? Where I built Maltby. No, it was 2 episodes ago where I built Maltby Parkway. And I said about how it seems to skip numbers. And I think that's to do with tracks. I think it counts a track as being a platform. So what you're seeing as platform numbers aren't actually platform numbers. They're track numbers. And this is something I forget about a lot. Is the UK, we do things weird over here where... So like Grand Central Terminal in New York. I was watching a video about that recently. And the video said it's got X number of tracks and Y number of platforms. Now, in my head, I don't know why you'd count that as 2 separate things. Like, if you've got an island platform, that to me is platforms 1 and 2. There's 2 there. There's not 1, there's 2. But some stations count it as a single platform. So you could have a single platform and then platform faces, I suppose. And then that would be platform 1, platform 2. But for me, it just makes more sense where if you've got an island platform, there's 2 of them. Simple as. If both have tracks, both have train stop there, there's 2 of them. Simple. Easy. No confusion. Unfortunately, that's not the way most of the world works. And I know in Europe, for example, in countries like Poland, Germany, I think France as well, they count it as track numbers. I think Poland, is it Poland? It has a really weird system where, like, you can have 2 platforms on the same platform, which we have here in the UK as well, but we tend to use like A and B. Whereas in Poland, they have like platform 1's at that end and platform 2's at this end. And, you know, if you're familiar with the system, if you've used it all your life, then there's no issue. But if you're a tourist, like I would be, going to Poland for the first time, that would confuse the heck out of me, trying to work out where exactly am I supposed to go to catch my train. It's not always obvious, you know. This is me rerouting services then into the station here. And this is where I got the notepad out. So you'll see me stopping every now and then. It's because I'm writing things down. I'm basically trying to make it so that no 2 services use the same platforms. And that's in both directions. So, you know, because of that... Actually, I've just had a really good idea on how to run this station. I might have to go back and redo some of these services. But it's not a big deal right now. Here's also where I realized that there were a couple of junctions that were missing. So I go and add those in. And I think I do a couple of other things here and there. You can kind of see where I'm going with this whole routing issue as well. So some of these services, they use the center track, then they switch in to go to the platform, and then they leave. Some of them, though, they stay on the platform track for both north and south bits. And I'm trying to think of the technical terms here, but I'm struggling. They don't use the crossovers, basically. They stay on the platform road. And that's not supposed to happen. So freight trains especially use that. They keep going through platform roads rather than through roads. So that's when I had to come in the first time and rejig some stuff around. And then passenger services do the same thing, where they'll stop at the platform and then they'll just go straight on. They won't use the crossover. So some of them do work, like the one on screen just then, the purple one. That one did work, but some of them don't, and that's really annoying. It's really frustrating. But yeah, every service has its own platform now, and it has its own platform for each direction, so it doesn't stop at the same platform twice. As far as I'm aware, everything seems to be working. Freight trains run straight through. The routing signals that I use for the waypoints, each through track has a signal at either end facing inwards, as it were. So trains will stop at the end of the through road if the track ahead isn't clear. That can cause issues where freight trains that are waiting to head south, for example, might hold up a passenger train that's trying to access the second platform, like the southern platform, because it can't use the through road to then switch across because that is occupied. I'm hoping this update that they're talking about, where they're going to make the game more tycoon-like, and they're also going to allow multiple tracks to be used by services, I'm hoping that might fix it. Where if a freight train is stuck in the middle, the passenger train could potentially use a platform road to bypass the freight train and then still be able to stop at the platform. I don't know how possible that could end up being, but if it does work, that would be great. I'd really, really like that. But I guess we'll see. Here is me adding some signals then. I decided to use shunting signals here rather than semaphores. I just think it would look better, particularly as this is mostly used by freight trains anyway. So you can imagine that it's freight trains mostly that would stop. Passenger trains would be released from the platforms. I kind of wish, again, this might exist. If it does, let me know. I kind of wish we had long reserve like we do in OpenTTD, which I've not used much in OpenTTD, if at all, to be honest. But it would be a lot cooler if you could set it so that trains leaving the platforms had, first of all, priority, because passengers should always have priority over freight. Excuse me. And then also actually reserve the through road ahead of it as well. So, if there's a freight train waiting in the southern through road and there's a passenger train in the southern platform next to it, that should take priority over the freight train to go into the crossover, but then it should also have the through road from the end of the northern through track as well. Again, I don't know how possible that is. I don't know if mods can work on that or anything, to be honest, but it would be really cool if that was possible. With this rebuild now, though, I want to go back to the train that we've got currently that runs from Richmond up to Maltby Parkway, and instead of having it terminate at Maltby, I actually want it to loop round again and then come back through. So let's have it start at Richmond, head up through Luton Town, all the way up to Maltby, via M4J Junction, obviously. We'll have it go up through Blackburn that way, then have it loop around. This is once this track's complete, by the way. Have it loop round from Maltby, down through Hereford and Harrow, back through M4J Junction, and then take the route via Gravesend down to Richmond again. And have that be like a complete U-shaped loop. Now, obviously, it'll be an express service because it's quite a long one. Oh, these are those crossovers again, by the way. Just do my head in, honestly. It seems to, like, warp the track. That's what I don't get. You see there, it's like the track's kind of... It becomes like a Mobius strip looking thing. It's really weird. I don't know why it does that, but it's so frustrating. I do manage to get them done in the end, but it was an absolute faff, believe me. Yeah, it'll be an express service, that's what I was trying to say, because it's quite a long one, and it will, it'll probably have like 10 trains running on it or something like that. It's going to be really expensive to do as well, I imagine, but we'll get it working, I'm sure. Yeah, I got the crossovers built. Get it. get in there, as Bono says, get in there, Lewis. And then I have to rebuild this one as well because I did it wrong. I didn't leave enough space for the signals is why I'm rebuilding these. So then I have to come through and do them again. And this one was just as bad, if not worse. So that was a pain. Massive, massive pain. But again, we do get them working. So like I alluded to earlier, next time out is probably going to be airport building. Now, that already causes some problems here at M4J Junction because one of the places I was going to build an airport was here. However, we might have to alter that now slightly. The plan could be to keep this as a junction station still. Maybe build the airport on the east side of the river and then somehow get passengers to and from the airport from the station. The reason this is an issue now is because I've maxed out the station size, which means I can't actually build a means for passengers to leave the station. I can't build an extra platform somewhere and then connect a building to it because we've got tracks either side of the station now, the east and west. I guess if the game does allow it, I will add just a single platform tile and then build a building connected to that and then have that connected to, you know, a road or something that would then allow people to walk or get another form of transport between the station and the airport. If we're building it on the opposite side of the river, a boat would be more like the most beneficial way of doing it. So we'll have to see about that. But that's kind of my plan for all of this. Is to build an airport here. I also want to build an airport up at Maltby Parkway and see how that works. And then I guess one down in the south somewhere. Because M4J Junction is approximately in the centre of the map. I think Hatfield is slightly more central. Hatfield would be a good candidate for an airport as well, to be honest. But I think it's a little too close to where we are here. But yeah, just having like a line of airports and running 2 airlines services between them, I think would be the best way to go right now. The capacity of these planes is really, really low. So, you know, I'm not anticipating huge numbers of people being transported, but hopefully the distance is long enough that it makes a nice profit. That would be very, very nice, believe me. So yeah, the rest of this episode really is just me routing services, and then I do come in, like I said, and rebuild the southern approach to the station. That one now is a lot more like what I said at the start of, you know, Bewdley Station, where it's 2 tracks go off in that way, and then another 2 tracks branch off and head off in a different direction. I'm moving my hands around right now, and I just realised you can't see them. That's good, isn't it? Very smart. But yeah, this is me looking at it going, this is still way too big. So I do rebuild it. What's difficult about building these junctions here is it's not like OpenTTD where as you add additional lines, you just extend the ones you've already got. This is different because every track has to have like a snapping point. So because of that, you end up with what I'm about to do here, basically, which is I connect the 4 main lines up first. These ones. And then I come back. Oh, I use the parallel lines tool as well, which is actually a very, very neat little mod. I'm very glad I found that one as well. Found it purely by accident. Wasn't looking for it, but just stumbled across it. And I think it works quite nicely, to be honest. But yeah, you then come down here and you, or I connect, which I then find out the parallel lines mod didn't quite work how I wanted it to. So I then redo it. There we go. That's all connected. And then I come in with the line pairs here. Now already you can see that not every line is accessible from every line again. Parallel lines didn't work there. The mod just didn't work. I guess it's like autosig. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it throws a hissy and doesn't work. Sure, it happens. Just got to get on with it, I suppose. It's not the end of the world. You know, it's a minor inconvenience, if anything. And then it's about adding the crossovers. Now, the point I was going to make just now was sometimes you build a really nice looking junction and then you go to add the other lines and you realize that none of them fit. And that's when you have to like delete and rebuild and things like that. And that can be quite annoying. Again, it's not the end of the world, but it is annoying having to do that. So you'll see I did it in the north side. I rebuilt quite a few of the junctions and fortunately managed to end up with ones better than I already had, which was nice. But this side here, it's just irritating trying to get all this to work, in all honesty. It's just irritating. But But yeah, we got these nice crossovers. We got these nice lots of double slips, which I'm a huge fan of. Again, I didn't think these were that realistic when I first built them, but oh wow, that was quite a jump around as well. I think I was just doing lots of zooming and stuff, seeing what still needed to be done and looking at ideas and things like that, and it just makes me dizzy. There's one that I did there, just add an additional set of crossovers there. It's all very nice. I think I add a set of double tracks that go across the entire station throat as well, which was good. I think you see me add that in a second. But yeah, I didn't think double slips were that realistic right now, and I was going to get rid of them and use a different form of crossovers. But then I remembered that Newcastle Central exists. And actually, Newcastle Central does have a fair few, or it did have a fair few double slip crossovers when it was first built. In fact, it was famous for it. It had was it the Eastern Diamond, I think they called it, which was a crossover to, I think it was the eastern side of the station. It would make sense given the name. That was a big diamond crossing, and I think it was the largest railway junction in the world when it was first built. Not just in England, but in the world, which is insane. Doesn't exist anymore, sadly. Most of it has been removed now, as lines were converted to the Tyne and Wear Metro. There wasn't a need for such a big junction anymore because not as many lines were accessed. I don't know why I said it like that. Were accessed from Newcastle Central, at least not from the above ground platforms. So the crossovers and everything were simplified. And these days it's a very simple. I mean, it's still a complicated junction in terms of, you and I. But in terms of rail infrastructure, it's quite a simple setup now. I'd have loved to have seen it in its prime. I think that would have been awesome. But yeah, you can see that we've got that double set of crossovers now. And that was actually built to allow trains from Gravesend to actually terminate in the westernmost platforms. Because I'm treating them as like the suburban terminus platforms, rather than the other platforms, which are more like through platforms. They're built the same, don't get me wrong, but they're more through platforms than... this is weird as well, the way this... Well, I don't know why I did it like this. Really weird. They're more through platforms than terminus platforms. They can obviously be used to terminate trains, but it's not how I saw it. This might actually be the crossover that I had loads of problems with. Looking at it, I think this is the one. Where I was properly tearing my hair out, trying to work out why one half connects and the other half doesn't. And I think the problem is I built it too far across. You see there, it's like almost intersecting the station. And I think that was the problem all along, was I just hadn't realised how far over I was, and because of that I caused problems. But I ended up, just building it like that. It was easier just to do it like that than it was to try and build a scissors crossover. And I don't think I come back and fix that either. I think it's just that way forever now, which I'm not against either. I think that's, I've got more important things to worry about, in all honesty. So we've got 5 through roads now. Now the reason... So I was talking about building a access for the airport and stuff like that. This line at the bottom of the screen right now, that's the candidate to be demolished if I do need to add an extra platform and things like that. I think that's the best way of doing it. It then also means that the airport would be built on the opposite side of the river, which is about right, to be honest. That's where I want it. You're about to see some really weird bridge behavior here as well, which I, again, not a huge fan of. So I build this crossover, which is fine. But then look at when I go to build the signal, it does this weird thing, which I don't think that actually impedes any trains, but I also really don't like the fact that that exists. Find that annoying. And then you saw there, like, the sides were disappearing and all sorts. So I found another way to get the crossover in. I actually built it there instead, which I think is quite nice. One thing I loved about this northern junction was I was in quite a tight space. And I've said this before with OpenTTD. Sometimes when you build in a tight confinement like that, it brings out the best of your creativity. And trying to get all those junctions in that small space was actually a real challenge, and one that I think I rose to. That's not really for me to decide. Let me know in the comments down below, by the way, what you think about this build, whether you think it's a good one or not. We had some problems with routing still here as well. There were some things where, I mean, crossovers here would have been nice, but it's not a huge thing right now. There were some signals here as well that were in the wrong places. I just kind of did some general tidying up. Now, believe it or not, this is actually phase 1 of all this like simplification that I'm doing right now. Phase 2 is over at Luton. That huge like triangular junction that I built. I'm going to really simplify that. And I'm actually going to base that on Newcastle Central. So you remember Newcastle Central is built on kind of like a... It's kind of like a round shape actually, but it's got triangular junctions in places. And I'm going to use that as the basis. So it's all going to be flat junctions. Eventually there will be some flyovers built off of those flat junctions. But for now at least it's going to be flat junctions. We're just going to go back to basics and make things work a little bit better that way. So I think these junctions here work a lot better than the ups and downs, especially as we haven't got the most powerful locomotives still, and they're hauling heavier and heavier trains as each one gets longer. So it just makes more sense to do it like this, basically. And then the final step here, and I'll be wrapping up the video in a second as you see me do this, is adding the signal boxes. Now again, I've tried to add them in strategic places. It's a shame they don't have windows on the back, because that would be a huge help. And I think I had a water tower here. And I tried to add some on the other side, but there wasn't room. But I'll come back to that because I imagine trains on long layovers here will need to refuel. So it makes sense to have these water towers. But again, we'll come back to that another time. Right. That does it for this episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And of course, you're enjoying the series so far. Drop those comments down below. Let me know what you think about this rebuild, whether you think it's more realistic or not. And also let me know ideas for how to rebuild the track layout at Luton. There's a chance that I might have already done it by the time you guys see this video. If that is the case, then I will reuse the ideas for another project in the future. You know, I'm not gonna rule it out or anything like that, because I think there's always good ideas. It's just a case of getting them down. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Oh yeah, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Always forget that bit. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. Have a good rest of your week, and until next time, I will see you soon.